Hello guys, Small Room Report here. My mission today is to give you the most unbiased and hopefully most accurate election prediction video available for Trump versus Kamala. I voted for Trump. I've gone through a political change, which I'm sure will come up on the live stream that I'm doing on Tuesday, covering the election with my friends. I'm putting my bias aside and I'm telling you guys what I think is happening based off polling, based off early voting data. Right now, I think we have a pretty complete picture of who's going to win. Alright guys, this is how we're starting off with the map. I'll explain to you the coloring right now. The darkest blue means that Kamala is going to win those states, and she's going to win them very easily and with large margins, 12 points or above. The blue that's dark but not as dark is likely, and what that means is that Kamala's probably going to win those states, but I think that the margin isn't quite safe. So New York and New Jersey, those are going to be the two most controversial ones on the map. I obviously do think that Kamala's going to win New Jersey and New York at the end of the day, but particularly with New York, I think there's been a trend to the right that's been caused by the bad governance in New York. And New Jersey is a state that Democrats do win easily, but at times, depending on how red the environment is, can bring out very close margins. An example that comes to mind is 2004, where Kerry won the state against Bush, but Bush came within 5 or 6 points of winning the state. The leans, most people have Minnesota, Virginia, and New Hampshire as likely. But for me, I think that the environment is going to be strong enough for President Trump to where, although I don't think he'll win the states, I think it'll be close with the margins. I don't think Kamala will win Virginia by more than 7. Same with Minnesota, and same with New Hampshire and New Mexico. New Mexico in particular, I think that Trump is going to do the best with Hispanics that any Republican has done since Reagan. And I think that will make it so that the margin is close enough in those states. Now we're starting off with the safe states for Trump and the Republicans. All of them are pretty self-explanatory except for Ohio and Florida. I think Trump is going to do well in Ohio because of his appeal with white working class people and also the minority groups that Ohio does have, African Americans. And I think they have a little bit of Hispanics too, although I'm not 100% sure. I think Trump is going to do really well with the black vote in this election, as well as any Republican can do, 20-25%. Florida, I live in Florida. Florida is my home. And I'm telling you, based on everything that I'm seeing with early voting, with the historical polling error that I still think does exist in Florida, even though the polling is showing Kamala only losing by 5 or 6 points, I think that both camps have internal polling showing Trump winning Florida by 10 or 12, and I think the final margin in Florida is going to be 12 or 13. This is a state that I don't see Kamala or the Democrats winning in any way, shape, or form. We're going to start off with what I think is Kamala's strongest state, Wisconsin. I think Trump is going to barely win it, 0.1 to 0.4. And the reason why I think he's going to win it is because his appeal with white working class voters and his historic appeal that Republicans haven't seen with black and Hispanic voters is going to come into play with Wisconsin. And if the anecdotal evidence is anywhere close to true, particularly for black voters, I think that Trump will be able to carry Wisconsin barely. Michigan, it's sort of the same dynamic. I think Trump is turning out white rural voters crazy. I think that the black vote is going to swing towards Trump enough to where he'll be able to barely carry Michigan. And there's another factor with Michigan, which is the whole Israel-Hamas war. And I think that that not only Palestinians in Michigan, but also the Arab community in Michigan doesn't like how the Biden administration has handled the whole war. And I think they're either going to sit out the election or they're actively going to vote for Trump. Although that community makes up maybe 100,000, 200,000 in Michigan total, in a state as close as Michigan, I think that makes all of the difference. Now, I guess let's start off with Trump's strongest swing state, and that would be Georgia. I think Trump is going to flip Georgia relatively comfortably by 2 to 3 points. I think we'll know on election night that Trump won Georgia. And last time there was a controversy about mail-in ballots coming in and basically evaporating Trump's lead to where Biden barely won it at the end. That's not going to be as much of an issue with mail-in ballots. What you're going to want to look at on election night is Fulton County, where Atlanta, Georgia is. And I'm basing my prediction on not only turnout being a little bit lower compared to the rural areas of Georgia and Fulton, but also the margins. I'm basing this off of the fact that, once again, I think Trump is going to do historically well with black voters, which make up a key demographic for Democrats in Georgia. The second strongest state based off polling and based off historical trends, I would say, is North Carolina. I think that North Carolina is a state that Democrats will be competitive in, but at the end of the day, I think Trump is going to win it by 1 or 2 points, even though the Republican candidate for governor is basically dragging down the ticket. Historically, North Carolina voters have split the ticket for governor, and the margins have been like wildly different. So, for example, 2016, Trump won North Carolina comfortably by 3 or 4 points, and Democrats were able to flip that because of the unpopular incumbent. 2008, Obama barely wins the state of North Carolina. Meanwhile, the Democratic governor candidate won in a landslide. The next state is Arizona. I think that Arizona will go towards Trump. He'll be able to flip it, even though there is that drag with Kari Lake that the polling indicates exists. I think Trump will be able to win Arizona based off of the border disaster by itself. Arizona has become unaffordable. What you've seen is people from California moving to Arizona, making that state more expensive. And as somebody who lives in Florida, I understand that experience because people from California, New York, New Jersey have been coming in and raising the home prices. And I think that similar phenomenon that's going on in Arizona is creating dissatisfaction with the Biden administration. Nevada, I think Trump will win it. And I think he'll win it based off of early voting. Democrats really, unless they show up like crazy on election day, or unless they send out their mail-in ballots like now, Trump is going to be able to flip that state. And out of all the states that Biden won in 2020, that Hillary had won in 2016, this one was by far and away the closest one. Trump actually did like a little bit better in Nevada in 2020 compared to 2016. And so I think that trend will continue, but it will be significant enough to where I think he gets over the finish line. Up to this point, you could see 293. Based off what I think is going to happen, I think Trump is already over the top. I'm saving the state that will decide the election, and that's based off everyone's consensus. Now, on this map, I think Trump wins comfortably, but overall, I think Trump is also going to win Pennsylvania. And it goes back to my reasoning for Wisconsin, except I think it's stronger in Pennsylvania. Particularly Philadelphia, which has a large African-American population. I think the combination of rural turnout and rural margins, along with lower turnout comparatively in the urban areas, along with Trump doing historically well, will make it so that he carries Pennsylvania, and I think they'll be able to call it on election night. Oh, and also I want to explain something real quick. Iowa and Texas, and Alaska too, I'm putting in likely, because although I do think Trump is going to win relatively comfortably, there are like polls that I'm seeing and just a gut feeling that I'm having that's saying that, okay, Trump is going to win those states, and he's going to do it comparatively to 2016, 2020 margins, but for whatever reason, it's not going to be a blowout. But I want to end off this video by saying this race is not over till all the votes are counted, till the election is called. Obviously, it's like a football game. The game isn't over till the clock hits 0. And Kamala does have a feasible path to victory, And right now, if you had to ask me what are Trump's chances of winning, I'd say right now they're at 80%, 75%. But that means in like 1 out of every 4, 1 out of every 5 situations, Kamala still wins. I think her best case scenario is her winning all the same states that Biden won in 2020. But he also flips North Carolina in the process. Thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't gotten out to vote, please get out and vote.